The United States has confirmed it suffered casualties during a daring operation to capture Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro. The American Special Forces Operation Absolute Resolve on January 3rd involved Delta Force, Special Operations Aviation Units, 150-plus aircraft, CIA assets, and intense ground engagement deep inside Venezuelan territory. However, the operation does come at some cost. The Pentagon confirmed that 7 U.S. service members were injured during Saturday's U.S. military operation in Venezuela. The raid was spearheaded by elite Army Delta Force operators, supported by soldiers from the 75th Ranger Regiment and the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, units known for conducting high-risk missions. A Pentagon official said 2 of the 7 injured soldiers are still recovering, while 5 have recovered from their injuries sustained in the operation dubbed Absolute Resolve and resumed duty. He also added that the fact that this extremely complex and grueling mission was successfully executed with so few injuries is a testament to the expertise of our joint warriors, and an assessment of casualties on the ground was still ongoing and is being led by the U.S. intelligence community. Venezuelan officials confirmed that more than 70 people were killed in the U.S. raid. Earlier, Venezuela's Attorney General, Tarek William Saab, said 23 Venezuelan security officers were killed along with 32 Cuban military and police officers who were in Venezuela at the time of the U.S. assault. According to the Cuban authorities, the slain military and police officers were fulfilling missions representing the Revolutionary Armed Forces and the Ministry of the Interior at the request of their counterparts in the South American country. On January 6th, the Venezuelan government held a funeral ceremony at the headquarters of the Presidential Honor Guard in Caracas for the 23 members of the Bolivarian National Army who lost their lives during the recent U.S. military operation in Venezuela. Footage showed coffins covered with the Venezuelan flag, accompanied by honor guard units, in a solemn ceremony attended by senior civilian and military officials, relatives of those who died, and representatives from various security forces. On Sunday, in a televised statement, Venezuelan Defense Minister General Vladimir Padrino said that U.S. forces had killed in cold blood a large part of Maduro's security team, soldiers, and innocent civilians.
The most important thing the Three Kings have brought us is that we become aware of what it means to safeguard the peace of our country, of what it means to ensure that Venezuelan men and women can live in peace. That is the most important thing, that the harassment ends. I have said it in every way possible, that the harassment of Venezuela ends, that the aggression against Bolivar's brave people ceases. And from here, a message to our young martyrs who gave their lives in defense of our country. Young martyrs, I have made the decision to declare a 7-day period of mourning in honor, and glory of the young people, women and men who died, who gave their lives defending Venezuela, defending President Nicolas Maduro. To them, our recognition.
U.S. officials now estimate that roughly 75 people were killed during Saturday's military operation to seize Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, underscoring the intensity of the raid that Washington has described as successful but exceptionally violent. According to officials familiar with internal assessments, the deaths occurred primarily during a fierce pre-dawn firefight at Maduro's heavily guarded compound in Caracas and included members of Venezuelan and Cuban security forces as well as civilians caught in the crossfire. The officials spoke on condition of anonymity due to the sensitivity of the operation. Their estimates broadly align with figures circulating within the Venezuelan government, according to reporting by the Washington Post. One U.S. official said at least 67 people were confirmed dead, while another placed the toll closer to 75 or even 80. President Donald Trump appeared to acknowledge the scale of the bloodshed when he publicly described the mission as effective but also very violent. Despite the intensity of the combat, U.S. officials have stressed that there were no American fatalities. Around half a dozen U.S. troops were wounded, some by gunfire during the clash inside the compound, and several were flown to Brooke Army Medical Center in Texas for surgery, officials told the Washington Post. The Pentagon said,
"Reestablishing deterrence. Our southern border, which allowed an invasion of people we didn't know who they were under the previous administration, 7 months of zero crossings at our border. A country that isn't sovereign is not a country. Reestablishing deterrence." And then we saw 3 nights ago in downtown Caracas in Venezuela, as nearly 200 of our greatest Americans went downtown in Caracas. Seems those Russian air defenses didn't quite work so well, did they? Downtown Caracas, and grabbed an indicted individual wanted by American justice in support of law enforcement without a single American killed. Reestablishing deterrence.
Helicopters launched from multiple U.S. warships positioned off Venezuela's coast and flew at low altitude to avoid detection. According to General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, more than 150 aircraft from 20 locations were involved. As assault teams descended into Maduro's compound, other U.S. forces sealed off surrounding areas to prevent reinforcements from intervening. At least one helicopter was struck by ground fire but remained operational, Kane said. Details of the operation were shared with senior members of Congress during a classified briefing on Monday night, attended by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and General Kane. People familiar with the meeting said Rubio, who is also serving as Trump's national security advisor, expressed confidence that Washington could work with Delcy Rodriguez, Venezuela's former vice president, who is now acting president. Rubio reportedly argued that Washington holds significant leverage, assessing that Venezuela could face financial collapse within weeks if Rodriguez refuses to cooperate, leaving the state unable to pay security forces or civil servants.
I demand the immediate and unconditional release of both the citizen president and the First Lady, Sylvia Flores. Meanwhile, this arrest has been completely null, in violation of international law, in violation of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, in violation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and of the very Constitution of the United States of America. Likewise, I want to emphasize that the forced extraction, the kidnapping, the unlawful deprivation of liberty of the citizen president Nicolas Maduro and his wife, the First Lady of the Republic, Dr. Sylvia Flores, on their own territory to be taken to another country, is legally classified as international kidnapping and, as I already mentioned, an unlawful deprivation of liberty. We, as the Public Prosecutor's Office, have appointed 3 prosecutors to investigate the dozens of casualties, both innocent civilians and military personnel, that have occurred in the midst of this war crime, of this unprecedented aggression against the Venezuelan homeland.
Fully documented.
The most important thing the Three Kings have brought us is that we become aware of what it means to safeguard the peace of our country, of what it means to ensure that Venezuelan men and women can live in peace. That is the most important thing, that the harassment ends. I have said it in every way possible, that the harassment of Venezuela ends, that the aggression against Bolivar's brave people ceases. And from here, a message to our young martyrs who gave their lives in defense of our country. Young martyrs, I have made the decision to declare a 7-day period of mourning in honor, and glory of the young people, women and men who died, who gave their lives defending Venezuela, defending President Nicolas Maduro. To them, our recognition. There is no war here, because we are not at war. We are a people and a country of peace who were attacked and assaulted. So we will continue down this path. All the people of Venezuela in national unity, let's go. Let's all go. Let's all stay strong, standing tall, and above all, working for our future and working to defend our history and our dignity.
Venezuela's Attorney General, Tarek William Saab, said dozens of officials and civilians died and announced an investigation into what he described as a potential war crime, though he did not specify whether foreign nationals were included. U.S. estimates reported by the Washington Post and the New York Times placed the death toll significantly higher, with one senior U.S. official telling the Times that nearly 80 people may have been killed, highlighting the growing international scrutiny over the raid's consequences.
And it was an amazing military feat that took place yesterday. Think of it, an amazing military. The people are saying, well, thank you. You know, people are saying it goes down with one of the most incredible. It was so complex, 152 airplanes, many, talk about boots on the ground. We had a lot of boots on the ground. But it was amazing. And think of it, nobody was killed. And on the other side, a lot of people were killed. Unfortunately, I say that, soldiers. Cubans, mostly Cubans, but many killed. And they knew we were coming, and they were protected, and our guys weren't. You know, our guys are jumping out of helicopters, and you're not protected, and they were. But it was so brilliant. The electricity for almost the entire country was, boom, turned off. That's when they knew there was a problem. There was no electricity. Caracas, there's no electricity. It's not the only people with lights were the people that had candles. It was just off. So we sort of got them a little by surprise. But it was brilliant tactically. It was an incredible thing. But I watched where Schumer, he's such a bad guy. I mean, I've known the guy for a long time, and he's such a bad guy. You know, at some point they should say, you know, you did a great job. Thank you. Congratulations. Wouldn't it be good? I would say that if they did a good job. Their philosophies are so different, but if they did a good job, I'd be happy for the country. They've been after this guy for years and years and years. And, you know, he's a violent guy. He gets up there and he tries to imitate my dance a little bit. But he's a violent guy, and he's killed millions of people. He's tortured. They have a torture chamber in the middle of Caracas that they were closing up. But he's tortured people, and